Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Combined views of the conversation with Donald Trump and Elon Musk have now surpassed 1 billion. We have the latest on those numbers. The United Auto Workers, the union, has filed federal labor charges against Musk and former President Donald Trump over comments they made during Monday night's live stream interview on X. We have the details on that for you as well. According to published reports, Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has altered headlines from news outlets in Google search results to appear more favorable toward her and has included those revised headlines in paid ads on Google sites. We're going to give you Google's response to that. And Susan Smith, the mother who drove her car into a Union, South Carolina lake and let her 2 children drown, is back in the national news again. This time, her jailhouse suitor says he fell in love with the killer mom, but now wants nothing to do with her. We gave you some of the highlights from Monday's conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, the 2 billionaires, one who Musk just loves anything that is out of the ordinary, whether it's his SpaceX or creating a modern-day automobile, the Tesla, been very successful. 2 billionaires, the other, Trump, turned politician. The numbers keep coming in, and yes, there was some initial tech issues that prevented the forum to begin on time, as we reported to you yesterday, but once started, it went pretty well for both Musk and Trump. Here are some of the numbers. Musk has to be happy. The event pulled in a combined 1 billion views, and it continues to count. According to Musk, who is now offered to host Vice President Kamala Harris for a similar X chat. Now, let me ask you. First off, I don't think there's any chance Kamala Harris would sit down and talk to Elon Musk for 30 minutes, let alone 2 hours. I don't think she could talk for 2 hours, do you? In a post that Musk posted on his social media platform X early yesterday morning, he wrote, combined views of the conversation with @RealDonaldTrump and subsequent discussion by other accounts now exceeding 1 billion. The message followed a previous post outlining that between 7:47 p.m. and 10:47 p.m. Eastern Time, President Donald Trump's space post received 73 million views on Monday night during the live conversation. During the same period, there were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and President Trump's conversation on X, generating a total of 998 million views. Have you ever seen numbers like this? CNN and some of the leftist networks would love to have numbers like this. And this is all on X. Reportedly, Trump added another 1 million followers on X as a result of Monday's conversation. Now, remember, Trump was banned from X under the old regime before Elon Musk took over. Elon Musk, once he purchased the company, rescinded the ban, but Trump has not gone back and used X like he did prior to. X was, or Twitter as it was known then in 2016 particularly, was Trump's way around the media. Trump could communicate with his millions and millions of followers directly and didn't need CNN and CBS and ABC and some of the networks. But when he was banned, what did he do? He started his own company. Truth Social. And he's pretty much stuck with Truth Social. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if, and a lot of people complained about the, quote, mean Trump tweets. They thought that he needed to lighten up a bit. It's going to be interesting to see if, in fact, he embraces X again. You got to admit that Elon Musk, this was a coup for him. X could not have paid for the type of exposure they got on Monday night. The 2-hour expansive, it was audio only too. It's kind of like the old days, the original days when radio was invented and families would gather around and look at a radio and listen. That's what people were doing across the world on Monday night. They were literally looking at their phones. In some cases, people were streaming it, projecting it. What I did was I brought it up on our smart TV, and we just kind of watched the static images on the TV. But it was interesting to see Trump, the image that was released of Trump sitting at a table somewhere with his phone in front of him. You could see that his phone had a battery pack and a backup on it. So that the battery wouldn't go dead during the conversation, and he had like earpods or something that he was listening on. But it was quite interesting, and the fact that these types of numbers were generated, and that Trump received 1 million additional followers on X, I don't think he can ignore X. Do you? I think we're going to see Trump back to his old self and more involvement, and I think Elon Musk kind of suspected that would happen. And this was his way of luring Trump back to the platform. Lots have been said about this. Kamala Harris and her campaign, of course, very critical of the situation. She's just jealous because she would never get this type of audience. Even though Musk has offered her the same amount of time, she won't accept it. She'll never accept sitting down with Elon Musk and talking to anyone for 2 hours, because she doesn't have that much to say. The Harris campaign criticized Musk for the interview, calling them both self-obsessed rich guys. Donald Trump's extremism and dangerous Project 2025 agenda is a feature, not a glitch of his campaign, which was on full display for those unlucky enough to listen in tonight during whatever that was on X.com, the campaign said in a statement. They went on to say Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024. Well, let me tell you, yes, it may have, it was a bit embarrassing for Elon Musk, I'm sure, that they were about 30 minutes late starting because of some type of hack. But once they started, wow, to have over 1 billion people listening, 1 billion listens. I'm sure the Harris campaign's upset about it, because again, they could never duplicate that. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chang on X called out the Harris campaign for not having a name associated with the statement, and he's right. The statement was put out by who knows who, no one to attribute it to. Chang said all these statements, yet nobody ever puts their name on them. He wrote, F cowards. The Harris Waltz, I should say, campaign posted short sound bites on its X page of topics. You know, that's the other interesting thing. They were critical of Musk doing this, yet they tried to create their own buzz on X as this was happening. They kept posting these short sound bites on their X page during the 2-hour conversation. At one point, the campaign said in the post, Trump slurring says he's okay with climate change and rising sea levels because he thinks he'll have more oceanfront property, they said. That was tongue-in-cheek, of course. In another post with a soundbite, the campaign criticized the former president for praising Mr. Musk for firing workers who were striking for better pay and working conditions. Now, that conversation about unions has cost them both, as the United Auto Workers has announced that they are filing a federal labor charge lawsuit against Musk and former President Donald Trump over comments that they made during the live stream on X. UAW says the two billionaires made illegal attempts to threaten and intimidate workers in a conversation where Trump praised Musk for firing workers who threatened to strike. Trump called Musk the greatest cutter, saying they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone. Basically, Trump was saying, hey, when they go on strike, you fire them. UAW President Sean Fain said both Trump and Musk want working class people to sit down and shut up, and they laugh about it openly. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add. And I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD weight loss and nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago, and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk, and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. Vice President and Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris faced some renewed scrutiny when an old clip of her promising to close down facilities that hold illegal immigrants resurfaced. I shared that with you yesterday. The clip, which was from 2019 when Harris was running to be the 2020 Democrat nominee, went viral again as her campaign promised that she intends to secure the border if she becomes president. Now, what's wrong with that? You have a lady who wants us to put our confidence in her to elevate her to the most powerful position in the world, and she's starting to rethink her position on some of these key issues like immigration. If she says that she's going to make our border secure if she's elected president, where has she been for the last 3.5 years? Where has she been since her boss, Joe Biden, put her in charge of the border as one of the first duties he assigned to her, the border czar? And she wants us to believe that, hey, vote for me, put me in the White House, and I'll take care of this. I'll secure our border. Where have you been, Kamala? Why would we trust you now? Now the footage that is making its round again shows an attendee at this event in Iowa City. She asked, I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close the immigration detention centers? And Harris makes that goofy smile of hers and says, absolutely, on day one. Since becoming the Democrat nominee, Harris has taken a somewhat seemingly tougher stance on immigration. But again, who believes it? In a recent campaign stop, she said, I was Attorney General of a border state. I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and the human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won, so I know what I'm talking about, she said. We know our immigration system is broken, and we know that what it takes to fix it. Comprehensive reform. That includes stronger border security and an earned pathway to citizenship, she said. So if she knows how to fix it, and she talks about comprehensive reform, what exactly does comprehensive reform mean to her? As you can imagine, Republicans blasted Harris, saying that her record on immigration has been one of lack of security and open borders, and it has. I mean, who can say that that they really are concerned about border security when the administration that she's been a part of, and by the way, Karine Jean-Pierre confirmed this week that, of course, Kamala has been in the loop on all of this, so she can't argue that she hasn't been part of the Biden administration. Karine Jean-Pierre made it very clear that there was, I think she used the word daylight. There was no daylight between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, meaning that she's been a part of the administration every step of the way. Senator Ted Cruz warned, when she tells you who she is, believe her. And he's right. Conservative digital strategist Greg Price wrote, "Can't wait for a random Kamala campaign staffer to tell us she doesn't think this anymore." And look, get ready. There'll be another flip-flop. There'll be plenty of Kamala Harris flip-flops along the way. Also, from the Harris campaign, we have learned that Kamala Harris's campaign has altered headlines from news outlets in Google search results to appear more favorable toward her. This, according to a report that was published yesterday. The articles were changed without the knowledge of the outlets, according to the report. Then they were reposted on Google as advertisements for the Harris campaign and included a banner that reads, "Paid for by Harris for president." Now, there was a disclaimer on them. But still, some of the news outlets that they had used, for example, the Associated Press, Reuters, The Independent, CBS News, CNN, NPR, The Guardian, according to data collected by Axios, even local outlets like WDAY radio in North Dakota, saw headlines from previous articles that the Harris campaign had changed the headline to make it appear more favorable toward her and then put it in their ad. In some cases, the headlines and subheads were both changed to suggest that the outlets were actually in her favor, on her side, supported Kamala Harris. For example, The Guardian had a headline that read, "VP Harris fights abortion bans." It was changed to add, "Harris defends repo freedom." The Harris campaign then added text that read, "Vice President Harris is a champion for reproductive rights and will stop Trump's abortion bans." Now, this was not, The Guardian didn't write this originally. They added this, and then they paid Google to put it in their campaign ad as if it was a quote and a headline from The Guardian. Another example, an ad featuring a link to an NPR story with the headline, "Harris will lower health care costs," now included supporting text that says Kamala Harris will lower the cost of high-quality, affordable health care. Again, it's written as if NPR was reporting on this. The media outlets told Axios that they were unaware that their brands had been co-opted by the Harris campaign. A spokesperson for The Guardian said, "While we understand why an organization might wish to align itself with The Guardian's trusted brand, we need to ensure that it is being used appropriately and with our permissions. We'll be reaching out to Google for more information about this practice." Again, it's unclear why the Harris campaign felt the need to tweak the news headlines, as there's been no shortage of favorable coverage for her because the Democrat leftists in the media have been very quick to support her. So why would you go out on a limb and do this, knowing that you could get caught? Or maybe they didn't think they could get caught. The Harris campaign did not respond to a request for comment from the Washington Times, who also was covering this story. According to a Google spokesperson, Google doesn't mind the ads, insisting they don't violate its rules because they are prominently labeled as sponsored and easily distinguishable from search results. Shame on Google, because Google should mind if they know that someone is altering a headline and then buying ads, buying space from their organization to promote this for something that it's actually not. That in itself should tell you why we don't vote for crooks and liars like Kamala Harris. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, You don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Susan Smith, you probably remember that name if you live in the Carolinas particularly. Her jailhouse suitor says that he fell in love with the killer mom, but now wants nothing to do with her. Susan Smith, as you'll recall, is the South Carolina mother who allowed her two sons to drown in a vehicle that she had driven into a lake in Union County, South Carolina, initially telling police officers that it was a black man who had done this, only to admit sometime later to the sheriff that she had done it herself. She's in national news again, in the New York Post to be specific, saying that, and look, this is nothing new to Susan Smith. The one thing that we have heard about her during her lifetime sentence is that she has a lot of boyfriends, evidently, who, I don't know what the attraction is, but men who call her, who write her, who stay in touch with her. She's serving a life sentence again for drowning her two young boys. It made national news in 1994. Wow, that's a long time ago, wasn't it? Doesn't seem like it. She is a prolific user of the South Carolina prison text message and phone system, carrying on conversations multiple times each day, according to the New York Post. Now, I wasn't aware that prisoners had access to phones and text messages like this. All of the chats are recorded, of course, and they're entered into public record. Every so often, some enterprising journalist, I guess, can go to the prison and open up the books and read what's been said. A review of the logs shows that several of her lovers on the outside have abruptly stopped communicating with her. Speaking to the Post, one of the men says that the final straw was seeing how many other men Smith was romantically speaking with. Now, how does this work? How do people, first off, how do men know how to contact her? And then secondly, how does she know how to return? I guess they write to her? Is that how they open the conversation? Maybe they just they send her a letter and they include their phone numbers and then she calls them? Is that how this could potentially work? One man said, she knew I was falling in love with her, but she was talking to all these other guys. This guy is a 50-something divorced dad who had romantic chats with Smith for more than 18 months. He said, I needed a clean break, so I just stopped talking to her. I figured she'd figured it out. Smith, she's 52 years old, tried sending the man at least 2 messages after the ghosting, saying, I haven't heard from you. Are you okay? I'm not sure what happened. What man in their right mind even starts a conversation like this anyway? I mean, what's going to come of it? She's in jail for the rest of her life. Why would you start what's being described as a romantic relationship with a woman in jail? Yeah, maybe you could, I guess you could go visit her. But why would you put yourself through that? When this particular man stopped responding, Smith stopped communicating with her. and began to focus on other paramours in her stable, according to the Post. The man dryly told the Post she didn't put up much of a fight. She just moved on. Smith has carried on romantic relationships from behind bars with at least a dozen men in the past 3 years, and many of her lovesick suitors, according to the Post, had no idea that the other men even existed. One man said, "I truly thought I was the only one, but nope, there are a lot of others." Gosh. This is so bizarre to me. And again, why do these men get sucked into this? Are they just that lonely, maybe? That she pays a little attention to them? And she has some notoriety, I guess. So maybe they think it's something that, hey, you know, I'm in my girlfriend, Susan Smith, you know, the one in jail because she killed her 2 sons. That's my girlfriend. That relationship is going nowhere. Smith is in Leith Correctional Institution in Greenwood, South Carolina. She's up for parole later this year, and she's told family members she believes she deserves to be released, which is a whole other topic in itself. Does Susan Smith, a mother who allows her 2 young sons strapped in their car seats and rolls the car into the lake and allows them to drown, does she ever deserve to be paroled? Should she ever see the light of day outside of that prison? Let her rot away in that cell and continue these distant phone and text relationships if that's what makes her happy. I hope the South Carolina Parole Board never even considers allowing her freedom. She does not deserve it. She deserves to be in that jail cell miserable for the rest of her natural life. Am I missing something here? Send me a quick text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. I mean, really, is there any scenario that you think Susan Smith should be granted freedom, be allowed to be back out into our world? She was 22 years old at the time when she let her car roll into the John D. Long Lake in Union County, South Carolina, with 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alexander, a 14-month-old baby, strapped into their car seats as she stood on the side of the lake and watched the vehicle sink to the bottom, slowly drowning both of her sons. What kind of woman does that? What kind of mom does that? And as I mentioned, she then falsely told the police that a black man had carjacked her, kidnapped the boys, which led to a manhunt in which authorities went door to door among local neighborhoods that were predominantly African American, questioning people. What a waste of time. And this went on for a week or so. Smith and her husband at the time, David Smith, were on national news every day. You remember this? Pleading, crying for the boys' safe return. This was before we knew they were at the bottom of the lake. 9 days later, 9 days, we went through this. She finally confessed that there actually was no carjacker and that she had drowned her 2 sons in that lake. Her alleged motive? She was having an affair with a wealthy man who didn't want the children. The car was pulled from the water with the 2 boys still strapped in their seats. This lady has serious issues. I guess she likes men. That's pretty obvious. She's having an affair. She had 2 young sons and having an affair with some rich guy in this small town of Union, South Carolina. She was convicted of murder, spared the death penalty, which I didn't agree with at the time, but given life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 30 years, which makes no sense to me. She's asking her boyfriends to help her build a life outside of prison. Now, that's what we're getting to, isn't it? I wonder if she has these men contributing to some kind of fund. Wonder if she has like a GoFundMe page somewhere and she's shaking them down for money. I guess she could do that, couldn't she? One of her former boyfriends says she'll find someone to bankroll her, but it won't be me. There's a sucker born every minute. Wow. Send me a quick email, joey@joeyhudson.com. Text or allowed. On the text line, speaking of, Albert says, I'm seeing a lot of Kamala Harris political advertising where she sounds more like a Republican than a Democrat. I haven't heard any Democrats complaining about these conservative views she's promoting. That tells me a lot, that it's a ploy to get undecided votes. Otherwise, the Democrats would be going nuts. Don't be fooled by her. She's a chameleon and a Cheshire cat with a grin. Your comments are welcome as well. Arizona is the latest state to put abortion rights on the ballot in November. A ballot measure that would add the fundamental right to abortion to the state's constitution will appear on this year's ballots after getting more than 800,000 signatures in the state of Arizona to get it on the ballot as a referendum. Arizona's current law bans abortion after 15 weeks. The proposal would expand it to the fetal viability, typically between 22 and 24 weeks. In addition to Arizona, Missouri also. A group in Missouri has won the right to put productive rights on their ballot as well. It would amend the state's constitution there as well to include the right to make decisions about reproductive health care, including abortion and contraceptives. It qualified for the ballot after collecting over 170,000 signatures. Missouri currently has a near total abortion ban, one of the strictest in the U.S. And finally, remember the name Colin Kaepernick? After 7 years out of the NFL, he still thinks he's going to get a comeback. The ex-49ers quarterback told Sky Sports he's still training, still pushing in hopes of convincing an NFL team to give him a chance. I think he needs to give up. I don't know that an NFL team is ever going to take a chance on Mr. Kaepernick. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com.
When I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Does that sound familiar? Have you heard that before? Copycat Kamala is listening to President Donald Trump and evidently believes he has a few good ideas. And I guess if she can't come up with an original idea, just take one from the Trump campaign and run with it. The problem is that the media is allowing Kamala Harris to do this and get away with it. One would think that the media, who's been covering Trump talking about eliminating taxes on tips for months now, would call the vice president out on this. But no. Newsweek took it a step further, and in a recent article appears to give Copycat Kamala credit for the whole idea of eliminating taxes on tips. Newsweek's misleading headline on Republican support for the, quote, Kamala Harris no tax on tips policy was deemed another reason to loathe the media online. Here's the story. Newsweek released an article titled Kamala Harris's Tax Proposal Backed by Majority of Republicans. Now, that would lead you to think that this is Kamala Harris's policy and that Republicans are flocking over to Harris to support her because of this. This headline was on a Monday article published by Newsweek regarding Harris's new support for banning taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers, only after President Trump has embraced the policy and has been talking about it since he first announced it back in June, before she was even the candidate for the Democrat Party presidential nomination. Newsweek said in their article, considering that 68% of Republicans support the policy proposal, according to our recent poll, the plan could help Harris sway GOP voters unconvinced by Trump's candidacy toward supporting her in the November election. Now, I got to ask you, is there a Republican out there dumb enough to fall for this? Does anyone think that this is Kamala Harris's idea? But it does beg the question, because, you know, the union who supports hospitality and service workers recently endorsed Kamala Harris. You think that they endorsed her because they think this is her idea, that their head is in the sand and they don't realize that Donald Trump came up with this idea? I mean, this headline implies support for Harris's plan. The article itself acknowledged the poll was conducted on July 29th, which was, of course, prior to Harris's announcement. So I guess Newsweek felt a little guilt there, that they had to throw a little credit towards Trump. The piece also noted that the plan was previously proposed by Trump and added to the Republican platform months prior. The article read, the majority of Americans support plans to end federal taxes on tips given to service industry workers, according to an exclusive poll for Newsweek, which shows why Kamala Harris embraced the policy plan first announced by her opponent, Donald Trump. Well, at least deep into the article, they give him credit for it. But again, if you just read the headline, Kamala Harris's tax proposal backed by a majority of Republicans, wouldn't you think that this is luring Republicans over to the Harris campaign? So Newsweek does know that this is a Trump idea, and they should, because Trump has only talked about it every time he speaks since he first came up with the idea back in June.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips. There will be no taxes on tips. No taxes on tips.
Are you going to make that an official line item in your economic plans?
Yes.
No tax on tips?
No tax on tips. Very simple.
Pretty clear to me, isn't it to you? I mean, Donald Trump literally has been talking about this since the early part of June when he came up with the idea. I think it was like June the 2nd. That is the date that Fox News attributed this idea to Trump first. And remember the headlines it got then? Remember the applause, the support it received? And I've been to several Trump events where he has proposed this, and it brings the house down. I mean, who would not support eliminating tax on tips? Now, of course, Kamala wants to take it a step further. She also wants to raise the federal minimum wage. We see how that worked out in her home state of California, haven't we? Fast food industries, which were mandated by the California legislature and the governor's office to raise their minimum wage to $20 an hour. We are seeing fast food restaurants, number one, close. A number of chains have closed multiple locations throughout California. But secondly, we've seen them also eliminate positions. So people have lost their job. I think the minimum wage was like $15 prior to the increase to 20. I'll bet those people who've lost their jobs would love to have that $15 an hour back, right? This Newsline headline also got some attention on X, which had users accusing the publication of trying to turn a Trump policy into a win for Harris. The Spectator reporter Matthew Ford wrote, that's because it's Donald Trump's tax proposal. He left out, you idiots. I might have added that. Iowa State Representative Carter Nordman agreed that's because it's literally at real Donald Trump's tax proposal. I mean, everybody knows this. Rick Scott, communications director McKinley Lewis, remarked, Harris stole this idea from Trump. It's not her proposal. This is an insane take, even for Newsweek. Conservative personality Chad Felix commented, you mean Trump's tax plan? Twitchy's Doug Powers joked, hey, Google, give me yet another reason to loathe the media. Red State writer Bonchi wrote, Shameless doesn't begin to cover it. And former Republican congressional candidate David Giglio simply exclaimed, oh, my God. Fox News Digital reached out to Newsweek and the article's writer, Julia Corbona, asking for a comment. Of course, they got none from Newsweek. They also reached out to the Trump campaign, where Trump campaign spokesperson Caroline Sunshine, don't you love the name Sunshine, says maybe we'll see the vice president change her position on some of the other issues.
Well, when Kamala Harris isn't flip-flopping her positions, apparently her new strategy is just to copy ours. As you noted, President Trump announced his no tax on tips policy on June 9th. That is over 2 months ago. And Kamala Harris just yesterday, or just 2 days ago, August 10th, announced that she is now copying President Trump. And of course, you have a liberal mainstream media that's going to allow her to get away with it. However, we will not allow voters to understand anything other than the truth that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden actually have done the exact opposite of saying no tax on tips for the last 4 years. In fact, their administration just this past year under their IRS instituted a new rule to do the exact opposite, to collect more tax on tips, not less. So with Kamala Harris, as always, if she wanted to, she would. She's already been in the administration. They are already in the Oval Office. If they actually wanted to do something like no tax on tips, they would have already done it. But as we've seen, they've done the exact opposite. So as I said, when she's not flip-flopping on positions, apparently her new strategy is just to copy our playbook. Maybe she's going to want to secure the border too now, or finally actually drill, baby, drill. We'll wait to see. But again, you have a liberal mainstream media that's allowing her to continue to do this, as they shouldn't. Yeah. And our campaign intends to make sure voters know that truth.
And of course, Trump commented, writing on Truth Social, Kamala Harris, whose honeymoon period is ending and is starting to get hammered in the polls, just copied my no taxes on tips policy. Trump's campaign later coined the hashtag copycat Kamala. Wow. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.